Some people say the world is small, but no one prepared me for the moment I realized that someone I barely knew things about me I had never spoken out loud. Not whispered, not written, not confessed in a moment of weakness. Secrets I had buried so deep inside myself that even I struggled to face them. I used to believe secrets were safe as long as you carried them silently. I believed pain loses its power when you refuse to name it. I believed memories fade if you lock them up long enough. But all of that shattered at the moment I met him. He wasn't someone special. He didn't arrive like a storm or enter my life with loud footsteps. He slipped in quietly like a shadow that blends with the room so well that you only notice it when it moves. He looked ordinary. His smile soft. His presence calm. The kind of man you wouldn't remember in a crowded place. But the first time he spoke to me, I felt something strange, not fear, not attraction, not comfort. Recognition. As if his voice had already lived somewhere in the back of my mind long before I ever heard it. At first, I brushed it off. People feel strange things all the time. Connections, deja vu. Instinct. But then he said something that froze the air between us. He said, "You always pretend you're okay." Even when your hands are shaking, my heart stopped. I never told him that. I never told anyone that. It was one of the things I hid the deepest, the way I train my face to stay calm while my fingers betray me. Something I learned as a child when showing fear meant losing control. How do you know that? I asked, trying to sound casual. He smiled gently with a softness that made my skin crawl. I pay attention. But it wasn't the kind of attention people give when they care. It was the attention predators use when they study their prey. Still, I tried to convince myself it was coincidence, a lucky guess. But then he said another thing. And another, each one cutting closer to the bone. Sometimes you stop breathing for a second when someone raises their voice. You never look people in the eyes when you're scared. You hate goodbyes because you see abandonment in them. You sleep on your right side because you feel safer that way. Every word he said felt like someone was peeling back layers of my soul that I had spent years protecting. I should have walked away. I should have blocked him. I should have ignored him. But fear does strange things to the heart, and curiosity. Curiosity can be more dangerous than love. The more he spoke, the more I realized something terrifying. He didn't know my secrets because he asked the right questions. He knew them because he knew me before I ever met him. He understood my triggers, my patterns, my emotional scars with unsettling accuracy, as if he had studied every crack in my voice, every hesitation in my steps, every shadow in my past. And then came the moment that changed everything. He said, "You don't have to tell me what happened when you were 14. I already know." My entire body went cold. My vision blurred. My breath cut in my throat. That secret, that moment, was one I had buried so deep that I never spoke of it to anyone. Not even in therapy. Not in journals. Not in late night breakdowns. It was the kind of memory that lives in your bones, silent and bruised, never spoken, never named. How? I whispered. My voice barely existed. He leaned closer, his eyes calm, steady, too steady, because you act like someone who survived it. Not a guess, not a question, a certainty. That was when I realized that he wasn't dealing with a stranger. I was dealing with a man who knew my darkness more intimately than I knew his name. A man who understood my pain before I ever spoke it. A man who saw the secrets he had spent a lifetime hiding. And the scariest part, he didn't look surprised. He didn't look proud. He didn't look afraid. He looked prepared. As if he had been waiting for the moment I would finally realize I wasn't the one who discovered him. He discovered me. The days following that conversation didn't feel real. It was like living inside a fog where everything looked familiar yet nothing felt safe. I tried convincing myself that maybe he was just intuitive. Maybe he was just observant. Maybe he had guessed correctly. People guess things all the time. People notice patterns. People overanalyze. But this wasn't guessing. This wasn't observing. This wasn't normal. It felt like being read. Every time my phone buzzed, my stomach tightened. Every time I stepped outside, I felt eyes on me. Every time I looked in the mirror, I wondered if I had unknowingly revealed something in my walk, in my tone, in the way I avoided certain topics. I kept telling myself to stay calm, to stay rational, to not spiral into fear. But fear doesn't ask for permission. Fear enters quietly and then takes over everything. He texted me again the next morning. Rough night. You didn't sleep well. My heart dropped. I hadn't posted anything, hadn't told anyone, hadn't left the house. How do you know that? I typed out. He replied instantly. You breathe differently when you're tired. I froze. How could he possibly know how I breathe when I'm alone in my own bedroom? I typed again. What do you want from me? His answer was chilling. I want you to stop pretending you're hard to understand. That line spiraled in my mind for hours. By evening, I was shaking from fear, from confusion, from the steady unraveling of the boundary between us. I needed distance. Space. Anything. So I muted his messages, shut off my phone, and tried to distract myself with noise music, videos, whatever kept my mind from spiraling. But he messaged again, and again. And again. Each text more unsettling than the last. You're scared of falling asleep tonight. You keep checking the door. You're sitting on the floor right now. My breath vanished. I wasn't sitting near a window. He couldn't see inside. My curtains were closed. My lights were off. How do you know that? I wrote, my fingers trembling so violently that I could barely type. He replied with a single sentence that made my entire body go numb. You always sit on the floor when something from your childhood haunts you. My childhood. My trauma. My patterns. Things nobody knew. How deep did he know me? How long had he been watching? How much of my life had he silently memorized? I tried calling a friend, but halfway through the ring, I hung up. Because I didn't know what to say. How do you tell someone that a stranger knows you more intimately than the people who raised you? It sounded insane. Unbelievable. Paranoid. I couldn't explain it. I couldn't process it. I just wanted it to stop. So I wrote him again. Stop texting me. His reply came instantly. But I'm the only one who really understands you. A chill washed through me. I didn't answer. I refused. For the first time since meeting him, I chose silence. And that was the moment everything changed. Within minutes, he sent another message, longer, darker, more precise. You think you're hiding from me, but I've known people like you long before I met you. I know the way you shut down. I know the way you run. I know the way you disappear when you feel seen too deeply. Too accurately. He paused. Then added, you don't have to be afraid of me. You've been afraid of your past for years. I'm not your past. Something inside me snapped. Because he wasn't wrong. Not about the past. Not about my fear. Not about my instinct to hide when someone got too close. He spoke like someone who had lived next to my secrets for years. Like someone who memorized me long before I met him. And that was what terrified me most. He wasn't learning me, he already knew me. I blocked him. Everywhere. Phone. Email. Social media. Everything. For one night. I felt a flicker of relief, but the relief didn't last. The next morning, I woke up to a message from an unknown number, a single line. You blocked the wrong part of me. Hi. Dropped my phone. My legs gave out. My hands shook uncontrollably because the message wasn't a threat. It wasn't anger. It wasn't desperation. It was certainty. The certainty of someone who knew exactly how far had reached into my life. I didn't go to work that day. COULDN single quotes T. My mind was buzzing with fear, with questions, with a horrifying realization. He didn't find my secrets from my words. He found them from the way I lived. The way I walked. The way I freeze. The way I breathe. The way I react to certain sounds. The way I flinch at certain phrases. The way I hold my hands when someone raises their voice. He read me like a book he never gave him permission to open. And the worst part? He enjoyed it. His next message confirmed that I like understanding people who don't understand themselves. That was the moment he realized the truth. He didn't want me. He wanted my patterns. My trauma. My weaknesses. My triggers. He wanted the parts of me I never wanted to face. He wanted the versions of me I tried to bury. He wasn't drawn to my heart. He was drawn to my wound. He was a stranger who knew my secrets. I told him. And for the first time in my life, I felt truly unsafe inside my own mind. Fear does not come all at once. It builds in layers. It starts like a whisper, a quiet discomfort, a subtle twist in your chest. But once it takes over, it becomes something else entirely. It becomes a presence. For me, fear began living in the corners of my home. Every sound felt louder. Every shadow felt sharper. Every reflection felt wrong. I kept telling myself I was overreacting, that I was letting my mind run wild, that anyone could text from an unknown number, anyone could guess things, anyone could sound confident. But the truth was harder to deny. He knew too much, more than anyone should, more than I ever revealed, more than I ever wanted to remember. That night, I pushed my dresser in front of my door, sat on the floor, wrapped my arms around my knees, and cried silently. The way I used to cry when I was a child, with my mouth covered so no one would hear. My phone buzzed again. This time, the message was longer. You're doing it again. Crying without sound, hiding your face. Just like you used to. My entire body froze. I couldn't breathe. My vision TUNNELED. My sweat turned cold. No one, absolutely no one, knew that I cried like that as a child. Not my parents. Not my friends. Not my ex. No one. I stared at the message until the words blurred behind tears. How do you know these things? I whispered to myself. The phone buzzed. Again. I know you because you live exactly like someone who's been preparing for danger their whole life. That word preparing sent a chill through method. Felt like ice spreading under my skin. Preparing for what? For who? For him? I couldn't stay in the apartment. I couldn't stay near my own thoughts. I grabbed my coat, my keys, and ran outside. The air hit me like a slap. Cold. Sharp. Real. For a few seconds, I felt free. But when I walked past the streetlight, another message came. You're finally outside. Good. You think clearer when you move. I staggered, looked around wildly. No one was there. The street was empty. The windows around me dark, but he had described exactly where I was, the exact moment I stepped outside. The exact change in my breathing. Was he watching me? Was he nearby? Was he following me? Paranoia twisted into terror. I ran to the nearest cafe, hands shaking, heart pounding like it was trying to escape my chest. Inside, I sat near people just to feel less alone. Less hunted. Less exposed. 30 minutes passed. No messages. For the first time that day, I let myself breathe slowly, unevenly, carefully. Maybe he stopped. Maybe blocking the numbers had worked. Maybe the phone buzzed. My chest collapsed. The message read, "You always hide in public place when you feel hunted." My breath vanished. I dropped the phone. It hit the floor too loudly, drawing glances from strangers. My eyes filled with tears as I stared at the glowing screen on the tiles. "How?" I whispered, my voice breaking. "Another buzz. Because I've seen you do it before. Double quotes. Before. Before tonight. Before we ever met. Before I ever knew his name." That word "before" scratched something deep inside me. How long had he been watching me? How long had he been studying my life? How many moments he thought were private weren't actually private at all? A horrible thought hit me. What if he had been near me longer than I ever realized? I grabbed my phone with trembling hands and typed the only question that mattered. "Who are you?" The answer came instantly. "I'm the one who understands you better than anyone ever has." I deleted the message, typed again. "Who are you really?" A long pause, long enough to raise every hair on my body. Then, "Someone you already met." My heart stopped. I looked around the cafe, at the faces, at the shadows, at the reflections in the window. He didn't mean in person, he meant in my life. Someone from my past. Someone who knew me. Someone who watched. Another message came for I could think more. "You were so easy to read back then. You're even easier now. Back then. My vision blurred. Memories flickered. The boy who watched me at school. The neighbor who always stared. The man who sat alone near the playground. The stranger who used to follow from a distance. The eyes I always felt on, maybe you never found." Was it him? Before I could type another message, my phone buzzed again. "You were 14th, first time I saw you." My lungs collapsed. My body went rigid. My hands shook so violent with it. I nearly dropped the phone again. 14. The same age he mentioned earlier. The same age of my buried trauma. The same achy felt eyes on nuking home from school. Eyes I tried too. Forget. Eyes I pretended were imagination. I typed with trembling fingers, "What do you want from me?" The reply came instantly. "Nothing." Another message. "I don't want anything from you. Then I just wanted you to know that I've never forgotten you." My stomach twisted into a knot. He added, "You were always the easiest person to read. You still are." For a moment, I couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't think. A final message arrived. "And now that you finally know who I am, you can stop pretending your secrets were ever safe." The phone slipped from my hand because in that moment, I realized something horrifying. He wasn't a stranger who knew my secrets. He was the shadow that had been following me for years. He was the watching presence I felt growing up. He was the pair of unseen eyes that lived inside every unsafe memory refused to revisit. He wasn't new. He wasn't recent. He wasn't discovered. He had been there all along, and the truth hit me harder than anything. He didn't learn my secrets. He collected them.